Alice McAuliffe has come back into Sculpture by the Sea's life this year in our 20th year. She's not been in the Bondi show before, but she was actually in one of the shows we did on the Tasman Peninsula that came out of the 1998 Olympic Arts Festival. When I saw that Alice was in this year's show, I thought wonderful, because it's a big deal for artists to be in Sculpture by the Sea, and quite often they might exhibit 10 years apart. In Alice's case, I think it's 15 years apart.
What I'm doing now is I am gold gilding. So gilding is a technique of decoration that was very popular in the medieval times, especially monks used it on paintings a lot, and then it was also used in the Baroque period to decorate architectural elements of interiors. And what I'm doing now is painting on what's called a bowl, which is the glue. So you paint that on, and then once it gets tacky, it dries a bit and gets tacky, that's when you put the gold sheets on.
A lot of my art practice is interested in design and aesthetics and imagery from the past. And one of the things I like to do is appropriate that design or imagery and recontextualize it. So remake it perhaps in a different medium. One of the things I've done in the past, for example, would be things like this sort of work back here, where I've taken some images from the Renaissance and then pixelated them and then injected them with inks into each bubble of the bubble wrap using hypo or using injection needles. So you can see that we take these historical paintings and then you put them into something like bubble wrap, which is a really contemporary medium.
So I've laid on the gold, and now I use a brush to very gently brush the gold onto the surface of the stone.
After I finished art school, I lived in Italy for 5 years, in Venice, in Florence and Turin. 3 cities that are very beautifully decorated. Each city has its own very strong history, and because of that it has an aesthetic that really tells you the past that's happened there and the sort of thinking that's gone on in these cities. In the work for Sculpture by the Sea this year, I've been heavily influenced by the design aesthetic of the sort of the Baroque and high Renaissance period, with its sort of opulence and over the topness is no other way to describe it. But I'm taking that design, I'm appropriating that design and then recontextualizing it, creating it in a medium that it wasn't originally created in. So in this case, I'm making a rug, which it was used in, but the rug is actually going to be rendered onto a footpath. And the way I'm rendering the design is by using a high pressure water spray to clean away the negative spaces in stencils. Here's the stencils for the Sculpture by the Sea work. They've been cut out of this metal here by a metal fabricator. So you can see the size of them. They're 2.4 metres long. And this is a border piece. So you can see the outside of the rug. And here's the middle element. I don't know if you can see it, but this is from the High Renaissance. This beautiful, I don't know what you'd call it, explosion of flowers. What was interesting though is in the period of considering this work and being in conversation with Sculpture by the Sea about the upcoming exhibition, there was a huge storm that came through Bondi in June of this year, 2016. And part of the footpath was broken up. Totally destroyed, people couldn't walk through. So for me it was quite interesting because the footpath is essentially my medium in this exhibition. And so what I decided to do was go down and take parts of that broken footpath that had been left behind by the storm and use those in the Sculpture Inside exhibition that will also be on this year. Tomorrow is the big install for Sculpture by the Sea. One of the things about making an installation on site is that you have to install it on site, and it would be nice to have a lot of time in the lead up to be able to make the work and whatnot, but the reality is the work doesn't actually exist until tomorrow. So what we do is we take these stencils to the site, we lay down, I have 2 of the border pieces, so we lay that down, gurney what will be 4.8 metres, so 2 together, and do that all the way down. So it's a 47 metre long rug that we're doing. So we have to keep repeating and repeating and repeating. And it's a really exciting process because when you're there cleaning away the stencil, you don't know what it looks like until you pull that stencil back and you see the design on the ground. It's very exciting. I guess I'm a bit nervous because the ground's dirty. I know it's dirty, but how dirty is it? How much of a contrast is going to be there? And until you're there, until you're doing it, you just don't know. We arrived this morning at 8:30. It's now 6 p.m. We started installing at 9 o'clock and we're up on the footpath where we were meant to be. And once we actually put the stencils down and started using the high pressure water spray, we realised that the footpath wasn't as dirty as we thought it was, which meant that the stencils didn't render. You couldn't see anything. So that was a little bit of a setback because there was nothing there. So we had to stop work. We had to think about where else we could do it. We had to get the site manager and the curator, David Handley, in to talk about where else we could put the work. We decided that down here on this rock outcrop would be a beautiful spot. But of course, it's a natural part of the environment, so we can't do anything here without the okay from Waverley Council. We didn't think that we would get the okay in time to be able to start work this afternoon or this evening. And we were a little bit stressed out. I was particularly stressed out. So thankfully we got the okay at the 11th hour from Waverley Council and we're able to start installing. And we will get this done in time to be able to finish up before the sun goes down today, which is fantastic. One of the great things about being down here is, rather than up on the footpath, is the incredible darkness of this dead moss that's here. So when we've used a gurney on it, it's just cleaned it up so well. And one of the other things that's beautiful is because we've got old Sydney sandstone here, the colours are incredible. There's oranges and reds and greens coming up. And what a place to be working and installing an artwork today while we were waiting around for hours to work out whether we'd even be able to put a work in this exhibition. There was a pod of dolphins out there jumping up into the sky. There was a whale that came by really, really close. I went for a swim. I mean, if you're going to be stressed out all day waiting to find out whether your work can go ahead, this has got to be the best place in the world to be stressed out in.